morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm your host, Joseph Rose of the Common Sense Pros and Cons podcast. And there is only one kind of common sense. You did beat him indeed. Today though, we got look, man, we're gonna get into some isms, some ists, right? Some mental retardation. Shit's popping off with the Epstein stuff now that it's back in the mainstream and everyone's pushing it. And then also we got like really big news yesterday after I ended stream that the UN Security Council approved Trump's plan for Gaza. Sorry, I just had to pound some fucking breakfast in like 4 minutes. Because I did my run, I did my shower, stuff like that. Right. But we're gonna hop over into that sweet delicious stuff, right? Because I'm seeing it's already the same shit, different day, nothing but a bunch of retards all over the fucking place, unfortunately. But that's the normal. But first things first, let's get over here, all right? So, yesterday after I ended the stream, right, from CNN, Trump's plan for Gaza endorsed by the United Nations Security Council. Now, as y'all may know, I don't respect or actually care for the United Nations. I think they're a waste of time. I think they're retarded, right? Um there's no reason, right? So if the United States wants to pretend like China and Russia are its two biggest enemies, why are they part of the permanent security board for the United Nations? And every single member of the Security Council has the opportunity to veto fucking anything, right? So like why did we create a fucking organization? Right? Why did we create an organization that's basically just embedded with nothing except our enemies, and then they all get to dictate how we behave? Does that make sense? Like in what world of common sense or intelligence do you allow someone who is your enemy to have the upper hand on you, or they're able to dictate your behavior? Right? It's the exact same thing why I don't respect the Geneva Convention. I think it's bullshit. There really is no such thing as international law, because who enforces international law against somebody, right? Because the French have no fucking right to try to assert some bullshit law over me as an American. I would like to fucking see them try, right? Same thing with the British, the Germans, the Russians, the Chinese, right? So that's kind of like my little prelude into my feelings about the United Nations. But the United Nations Security Council passed a U.S. drafted resolution Monday that aims to move beyond the fragile truce in Gaza to a more sustainable peace and the reconstruction of the devastated enclave. Notice how they keep referring to it as an enclave, right? As an enclave, because it's not a country. The resolution was intended to add international legitimacy to the U.S. President Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza plan, parts of which formed the basis of the ceasefire that took effect in the Gaza Strip last month. The United States had lobbied hard for its passage, which was praised by Trump in a lengthy post on social media. Congratulations to the world on the incredible vote of the UN Security Council. My bad. I just need to slow down. I just had breakfast. Damn. Um, you don't like the UN, Timothy? I see. Were you telling me to chug my water self? But anyways, right? So um again, congratulations to the world on the incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council. Just moments ago, acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace, which will be chaired by me and include the most powerful and respected leaders throughout the world, Trump wrote Monday. The resolution authorized elements of the plan, including the establishment of the Board of Peace as a transitional authority and the creation of a temporary international stabilization force in Gaza, according to a draft seen by the CNN. By CNN, sorry. Trump said Monday that the members of the board and many more exciting announcements will be made in the coming weeks. Some diplomatic sources said the resolution will help grant the authority for countries to participate in the ISF, as it will now have UN backing. U.S. Ambassador to the UN Michael Waltz said Monday that the ISF, a strong coalition of peacekeepers, many from Muslim majority nations like Indonesia, Azerbaijan, and others, will deploy to Gaza under a unified command in order to secure Gaza streets, oversee demilitarization, protect civilians, and escort aid through safe corridors. U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, had acknowledged the need for an international mandate to support the plan ahead of the vote. Waltz warned that a vote against the resolution is a vote to return to war. No shit, right? Although the resolution has passed, many questions remain about its implementation, with the draft appearing vague on sequencing the detail. Western diplomatic sources have told CNN that the lack of detail in the resolution will make it hard to put into effect, etc., etc. Notably, the resolution also contains a reference to Palestinian statehood, but it provides no timeline for it. After the Palestinian Authority reform program is faithfully carried out and Gaza redeveloped and advanced, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, the draft said. The U.S. will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence, it said. The representative from Russia, one of the two UN Security Council members to abstain from the vote, said it was important that the resolution not become a death knell for the two-state solution. A representative of China, the other member to abstain, argued that it seemed Palestine is barely visible in it and the Palestinian sovereignty and ownership are not fully reflected. Well, so this is the best part. What did I have for breakfast? 3 sunny side up eggs and 3 pieces of bread. So this is the best part, right? Is there's a lot of critics about this because there's a lot of skepticism and there's a lot of vague details about this resolution because it's such a sensitive fucking topic to so many people for some weird fucking reason. Like, the only people it should be a sensitive topic to are the Palestinians and the Israelis, and everyone else should have an objective point of view from the outside based on logic, but they don't. Right? And here's why it's lacking so many fucking details, is because the Muslim world will not get on board with anything other than the complete and total obliteration of Israel and the implementation of Palestine. But just remember, this is the same Muslim world that had control over that part of the world for a millennia, right? Before like colonial powers really started to fucking come in and take shit, right? Longer than a millennia, actually. Britain didn't gain control of that area until post World War One. So Islam is created by the false prophet Muhammad in 641 AD, right? The end of World War One, fucking 1921, right? So like what the fuck, right? They had a millennia and three centuries of control over the area, and not once while they controlled the area throughout multiple different Islamic caliphates who conquered the area, not once was there a country of Palestine ever established. Not once was there a people of Palestine officially recognized and given sovereignty and something like that. But all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden, after they lose World War One because the Ottoman Empire decided they wanted to align themselves with, Germany, right? And they want to fight against the Allies in World War One, and then they lose, then they have concessions because they lost World War One. But then after that, now all of a sudden, the Islamic world wants to create a sovereign state of Palestine. Why is that? That's because the Muslim world decided to collectively vote against the creation of the modern day country of Israel in the United Nations vote, and they lost the vote. So this is the biggest flaw with any kind of democratic institution, is that when you don't have people who respect democracy within democracy, and democracy means sometimes you fucking lose the vote, right? So the Muslim world lost the vote, and they've spent the last I don't know. Let's just say, because just remember, Israel wasn't created until after World War II. It's not like it was created after World War I. It was created after World War II in 1948, right? So they've effectively had the last fucking 8 decades where they've done everything in their power to keep the region destabilized because they're upset that they lost the democratic vote. Well, it's simple. Just don't be part of the United Nations then. The Ottoman Empire was on the way out. I don't think it was. You're gonna VXN. What's up, man? Welcome in. Glad to have you back. How are you this for you? It's definitely evening, right? Over in India. What is it like? It's what, like 10 p.m. maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure. Um 11 p.m. I was close. I was close. Uh you think that the Ottoman Empire was on the way out? Yeah, but you think they were declining for centuries, but they weren't actually declining. Because this is the problem when you talk about a country declining. You're applying the Western standard to a Muslim country. To them, they weren't declining. They were doing exactly how they were governing the exact same way that Muslims have governed for a millennia and a half, right? They weren't declining. Everything that was occurring in the Ottoman Empire and what occurs in the Islamic world is by design of Islam, right? So when you apply our standards, Western liberal standards to a Muslim country, you're always going to say that they're declining. But they aren't declining. This is the problem with the education system in the West is they teach people what to think and not how to think anymore, right? So you have to understand, right? So when we're talking about, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. I forced myself to go for a run this morning. I just ate a healthy breakfast that I whipped up right before the stream. But it's like you have to understand, right? When we're talking about the metrics, so you know how leftists are always like, oh, all of these other European countries are higher on the metrics for like happiness and shit like that than the United States, right? Who created all those metrics? The European countries are the ones who created those fucking metrics because they're the ones who are fucking really chairing up like the WHO, right? They're the ones chairing up the World Bank. They're the ones chairing up the ICC, right? They're the ones who established all the metrics. So they based the metrics off of themselves. So no shit, they're going to be higher on the metrics that they created based off themselves than anyone else. It's all bullshit. Empire ended because of World War One under Mustafa Kemal. Uh, well, the um the Ottoman Empire ended because of World War One. Yes, it had no. It had. I wouldn't really necessarily. You could technically put it on the leader of the Ottoman Empire at the time because they chose to fight with the Axis powers in World War One. But that is what you would consider was the official ending of the Ottoman Empire was World War One, because that's when the Ottoman Empire fractured back into all the different countries because it was all partitioned up by the British Empire, and that's why like Turkey is Turkey. Yeah, yeah. Um, but that's just some food for thought for you there, Timothy, on that. Because I agree, look, man, I came from the same kind of education department you came from, and I used to think the exact same way. But after you realize that how we teach people is framed through our mindset and not framed from like a collective mindset, then you have to apply the other side's logic or their way of like their cultural understanding to the matter as well, and then you'll get a more balanced answer. But so you have here with this UN plan for with Donald Trump that he proposed. I'll get into Putin in a second. Um, it's funny because the Muslim world doesn't want to take responsibility on behalf of their Muslim brothers. Okay? They don't want to put their own boots on the ground to root out fucking Hamas and end Islamic extremism because their goal, they don't actually want a two-state solution, guys. The two-state solution serves as a medium for them to gain power to then exercise that power to create a one-state solution. But the one-state solution they want is with Muslims in control in Muslim majority in a Muslim country. They don't want a two-state solution. Not even close. right? This is why I don't support a two-state solution, because it makes no sense to have an enclave in the middle of your country that hates everything about you. You're just asking for problems. This is like when the British Empire, so when the British Empire partitioned a bunch of fucking countries on their way out of being a colonial empire, they intentionally created a bunch of enclaves, like in India, for example, right? There was a bunch of Indian enclaves in Pakistan, and there was a bunch of Pakistani enclaves in India, right? How they drew the fucking maps. It's insane. Go look at the maps they drew, and they did this in countries all across the world. They did this because they understood that it would create political instability in those countries, so that those countries would have to work through that instability first before taking their anger out on the British Empire. Right? So it was basically like the British understood that these countries are going to be pissed off for the problems that they experienced with British colonialism. So they created an obstacle in front of them that they had to solve first before getting upset with the British Empire. Right? This is why a two-state solution in Israel will not work unless the Gaza enclave is dissolved, right? And then you have a contiguous country of Palestine and a contiguous country of Israel. Like Kashmiri people are badly influenced against India by Pakistan. Some don't even call themselves Indian. Um, but the reason there's not enough detail in Trump's plan for Gaza is because what, like 75% of the world doesn't want to actually fucking concretely put their best foot forward in solving the issue. They don't. They want to keep milking the issue for political capital and for geopolitical reasons, right? That's why there's no fucking details on it. But with this, right? With this UN plan, everybody voted to approve it with the exception of Russia and China, but they just abstained from the vote, right? And when an abstention means that you don't get a vote. That's what an abstention means. But they chose of their own volition to abstain from the vote, and they did not enact their Security Council veto powers, right? Why? Why is that? They did that because they don't want any negative blowback of the plan, and they can't be seen as like, this is a problem with the UN, right? The whole point of the fucking UN is for countries to associate themselves with one another to build cooperation and a working relationship with one another, so we could bridge the gap between our differences. But then you have people like Russia and China, and the US does this too, and France does this too, and shit like that. They abstain from a vote because they don't want to be attached to the ideology, the methodology, the plans, or anything like that of these other countries that they're opposed to. Well, then you just undermine the entire credibility of the fucking United Nations. But the thing is, why didn't they veto the plan? Is because creating a two-state solution and giving legitimacy to yet again another group of Muslims in the Middle East to create another country just empowers China and Russia. It does not empower the West. That's why they didn't veto it.
With the beat of the drum and the fife so high, we march with courage under the sky. Banners wave and hearts on fire. In the name of freedom we aspire. Through valleys green and mountains gray,